The massive crystal halls of Nexus Prime buzzed with dozens of alien voices as representatives from across the galaxy gathered for another peaceful meeting. Captain Lee Hanna adjusted her small translation device and walked toward her seat among the other delegates. Her dark blue uniform marked her as human, and several alien species nodded respectfully as she passed. Hannah had been doing this job for 5 years now, and it never stopped amazing her how different everyone looked. The Zephyrians looked like walking crystal sculptures that changed color when they talked. The Kalari moved like one big group mind, finishing each other's sentences. The tall, thin Centauri always seemed to be thinking about something deep and important. The human will help solve the trade problem between Kalari and the Centauri, announced the lead Zephyrian, its crystal body glowing soft blue. This was normal for humans now. For almost 100 years, they had been the ones who helped other species work out their problems. The aliens found it strange that humans were so good at finding middle ground, especially since humans had evolved from hunters who never gave up chasing their prey. Commander Park Jinwoo sat behind Hannah and leaned forward to whisper, "Ma'am, we're getting urgent messages from the edge of the galaxy. The Void Syndicate is causing more trouble than usual." Hannah frowned. The Void Syndicate was a group of mean alien species from the dark parts of space that nobody else wanted to visit. They had been attacking ships and stealing things more often lately. Last week, they had demanded that everyone leave an entire section of space that they claimed belonged to them. The meeting was going normally until the main screen suddenly turned on without warning. A horrible, scarred face appeared on it. General Faxmore of the Void Syndicate. His skin looked like old leather, and his teeth were too sharp. "Stupid Confederation leaders," the creature said to the translation system, his voice making everyone uncomfortable. "You have 7 days to get out of the Kepler areas. We own that space. If you don't leave, we will show you why the whole galaxy used to be scared of us." The screen went black. The huge hall became completely quiet. Hannah had never seen the usually confident alien leaders look so worried. The Zephyrian leader's glow got dimmer. "The Confederation says no to this demand. We have more ships than they do and better technology. They're just space pirates who steal things." Many of the other aliens made agreeing sounds, but Hannah noticed their voices were not as strong as usual. She looked at Jinwoo, who was checking his data pad with a concerned expression. "What do we know about their recent activities?" she asked quietly. Jinwoo scrolled through reports. "They've hit 12 cargo convoys in the last month. But that's not the weird part. They're not taking cargo anymore. They're just destroying everything and leaving. And they're using weapons we haven't seen before." Through the big windows, the stars looked peaceful and normal. But Hannah had learned to trust her feelings during her years as a diplomat. Something felt wrong. The Void Syndicate had always been bullies and thieves, but they had never been this bold before. Demanding entire star systems was not their usual style. The Kalari delegate spoke up, their voice sounding like several people talking at once. "Perhaps we should consider their demands. The Kepler sectors are far from our main territories." "Absolutely not," snapped the Centauri representative, his long arms moving dramatically. Giving in to these demands would only encourage them to make more. This was exactly the kind of argument that humans usually help solve. Hannah stood up to speak, but something made her stop. The Void Syndicate leader's face kept appearing in her mind. There had been something in his expression that bothered her, not just anger or greed, but satisfaction, like he knew something nobody else did. "Commander," she said to Jinwoo, "send a message to her command. Tell them to put all human colonies on alert status. Nothing obvious, just routine security checks." "Ma'am, that might be seen as an overreaction to what's basically a standard pirate threat." Hannah watched the aliens continue arguing about whether to fight or negotiate with the Void Syndicate. These were good people, peaceful species who had built a civilization based on trade and cooperation instead of war. They had been safe for so long that they had almost forgotten what real danger looked like. Humans remembered, though. Humans had spent thousands of years fighting wars before they joined the galactic community. They had learned to be peaceful, but they had not forgotten the other skills. "Send a message," she told Jinwoo firmly. "I have a bad feeling about this." As the meeting continued around them, with aliens debating diplomatic responses and economic sanctions, Hannah kept thinking about that satisfied look in General Faxmore's eyes. It was a look of someone who was not just making threats, but who already had a plan. The stars outside still looked peaceful, but Hannah suspected that was about to change. For the first time in nearly a century, she wondered if humanity might need to remember some very old skills. 3 days after the Void Syndicate's threat, Admiral Kim Dae-hoon stood in Earth's main command center, watching his worst fears come true. The giant screen in front of him showed a map of the galaxy, and red warning lights were appearing everywhere like drops of blood. "How many?" he asked, even though he did not want to hear the answer. Lieutenant Colonel Yoon Mira looked at her reports with shaking hands. 17 worlds, sir. All attacked at exactly the same time. This is not like anything we have seen before. Admiral Kim had been in the military for 30 years. He had studied every major war in human history, and every conflict the galaxy had seen since humans joined the Confederation. Nothing had prepared him for what he was seeing now. "Tell me about the attacks," he said quietly. Mira took a deep breath. "Sir, they are not using normal weapons. The Zephyrian homeworld, they did something to make the air itself catch fire. The entire planet is burning. Billions of crystal people are dead." The communications officer, Bae Soo-min, looked up from her station with tears in her eyes. "Admiral, the Kalari hive minds have been cut apart by some kind of virus that attacks their shared thoughts. They are screaming on every frequency. The ones who are still alive cannot think properly anymore." Kim felt something cold grow in his stomach. The Kalari were like one big family that shared the same thoughts. Cutting them apart from each other would be like cutting a person into pieces while keeping them alive. "What about the Senhari?" he asked. "Their philosophy centers, their libraries, their schools, everything is gone. Just empty radioactive ground where their cities used to be." Mira reported, "Sir, we are getting fragments of messages from survivors, but most communication networks are down. The few who got through are talking about stars being used as weapons and worlds screaming as they die." The main screen changed to show incoming messages. Voices in dozens of different languages filled the room, all saying the same thing in different ways. Entire civilizations were being wiped out in hours. Then the screen went black, and a familiar, ugly face appeared. General Faxmore looked even more satisfied than before. Behind him, Kim could see the burning ruins of what had once been a beautiful city. Humans of the small blue world. Faxmore said, his sharp teeth showing in what might have been a smile. "Your alien friends are dead or dying. We told you this would happen if the Confederation refused our demands. Now you see we keep our promises." The creature leaned closer to the camera. "You have 1 day to surrender completely. Give us your ships, your weapons, your colonies, become our servants, or join your friends in death. 1 day." The transmission ended. The command center became completely quiet except for the soft beeping of computers and the distant sound of someone crying. Kim looked around at his officers. These were good people who had spent their whole careers keeping peace. They had been diplomats in uniform, police officers of the galaxy, helpers, and protectors. But as he watched their faces, he saw something else waking up, something that had been sleeping for almost 100 years. "Sir," said Commander Ryu Mincio carefully, "what are your orders?" Kim walked to the center of the room, where everyone could see him. "Mira, activate Protocol 7. Send the codes to every human colony, every research station, every ship in our fleet." Several officers turned to stare at him with wide eyes. Protocol 7 was so old that most people had forgotten it existed. It had been written during the early days after humans joined the galactic community, when Earth's leaders worried about what might happen if humanity ever needed to stop being peaceful. "Sir," Mira said slowly, "Protocol 7 has not been used since it was created. Most of our people do not even know what it means. They will remember," Kim said. "Human beings are very good at remembering important things when they need to." He turned to face the main screen, which still showed the red lights marking 17 dead worlds. 17 civilizations that had been humanity's friends and allies for decades. Worlds full of people who had trusted the Confederation to protect them. "Send a message to all human settlements," he continued. Tell them the Void Syndicate has made a mistake. They think we are weak because we choose to be peaceful. They are about to learn the difference between choosing to be gentle and being unable to be dangerous. As his officers began sending out the activation codes, Kim thought about his grandfather's stories from the old wars on Earth. Stories about what humans could do when they stopped holding back. The Void Syndicate wanted to see what happened when humanity got angry. They were going to find out. Across human space, in research stations and mining colonies, on diplomatic ships and medical vessels, quiet alarms began to sound. Systems that had been sleeping for decades started waking up, and the galaxy was about to discover that humanity's 93 years of peace had been a choice, not a limitation. The Void Syndicate had ended that choice. 2 days after the Void Syndicate's deadline, alien leaders across the galaxy watched their communication screens, waiting to see humanity surrender. Everyone knew humans were peaceful. They had been diplomats and mediators for almost a century. Surely they would try to negotiate or ask for mercy. They were completely wrong. On Luna Base, just above Earth, Director Choi Hyojin stood in a room that the galaxy thought was used for studying stars. Around her, technicians were turning on machines that had not been used in decades. "Star maps are ready," reported Dr. Han Kyung-woo. "We have detailed information about every solar system within 500 light years. Every planet, every asteroid, every space station. Cultural files are being processed," added Chief Analyst Song Nari. "We have complete records on every alien species we have ever met, including their biology, their technology, and their weaknesses." Hyojin nodded. For 93 years, humanity's peaceful exploration and scientific curiosity had been building something else entirely. Every diplomatic mission had been gathering intelligence. Every cultural exchange had been studying alien weaknesses. Every humanitarian aid program had been mapping enemy territories. Every human research station across the galaxy was revealing similar secrets. What aliens thought were medical ships were actually floating laboratories full of biological weapons. Mining operations in distant asteroids were actually hidden shipyards that had been building warships disguised as cargo vessels. Admiral Kim's voice reached every human settlement at exactly the same time. "Citizens of Earth and all human colonies, the Void Syndicate has made a terrible mistake. They have reminded us what we used to be before we chose to become peacekeepers. They want to see what humans look like when we stop pretending to be civilized. They are about to find out." His voice was calm, but there was something underneath it that made people stop what they were doing and listen carefully. "For 93 years, we have held back our true nature because we thought the galaxy deserved better. We became the ones who solved problems with words instead of weapons. We helped other species find peaceful solutions to their conflicts. We did this not because we forgot how to fight wars, but because we remembered exactly how good we were at it. On research stations throughout human space, scientists were opening locked rooms that contained weapons our alien colleagues never knew existed. On peaceful farming colonies, hidden factories were starting to produce military equipment that had been designed decades ago, but never built. The Void Syndicate has taken away our choice to be peaceful. Admiral Kim continued. They will learn why our ancestors conquered an entire world using nothing but sharp sticks and a refusal to give up. They will learn why Earth's history books are full of empires that thought humans were weak and are now just dust and memories. In the Centauri system, Captain Jang Yuna received the activation codes on her medical ship. Within hours, the vessel's healing equipment had been converted to produce viruses specifically designed to attack Void Syndicate biology. Her crew had trained for this possibility their entire careers, even though they hoped it would never happen. To the surviving members of the Confederation, Kim's message continued. Find safe places to hide. What happens next will not be diplomacy. The first human battle fleets launched 12 hours later. Their ships looked nothing like the peaceful vessels aliens were used seeing. These were Predator ships, built for hunting and killing, carrying weapons that did not appear in any galactic database. Fleet Admiral Lee Sun-ho commanded the largest battle group from his flagship, the Retribution. For 20 years, it had visited alien worlds as a diplomatic vessel. Now its true purpose was revealed. It was a weapons platform that could destroy entire fleets. "All ships report ready," his tactical officer announced. Good, Admiral Lee replied. Send a message to the Void Syndicate. Tell them we are coming. Tell them we are not coming to negotiate or surrender. We are coming to show them what happens when humans stop being nice. Across the galaxy, other alien species watched in shock as humanity's true nature was revealed. The peaceful research stations were actually intelligence centers. The medical programs were biological warfare laboratories. The cultural exchange students had been spies. The humans had been preparing for war the entire time. They were preaching peace. General Faxmore of the Void Syndicate received reports from his scouts with growing confusion. These ships do not match any human design we know about. Their weapons are completely new. How is this possible? His intelligence officer looked frightened. Sir, it appears the humans have been hiding their military development for decades. Everything we thought we knew about them was wrong. Impossible, Faxmore snarled. They are diplomats and scientists. They spend their time growing food and writing poetry. Sir, the officer said quietly, our forward scouts are reporting something else. The humans are not just fighting us. They are studying us while they fight. They are learning our tactics and turning them against us faster than we thought possible. For the first time since the war began, General Faxmore felt something he had not experienced in decades. Doubt. The galaxy was about to discover that humanity's 93 years of peace had been the most dangerous kind of preparation. The preparation of a species that knew exactly how to destroy its enemies and had chosen not to until now. The Battle of Proxima Station became a nightmare that Void Syndicate survivors would never forget. Fleet Admiral Lee Sunho stood on the bridge of the Retribution, watching enemy ships approach on his screens. What looked like a normal human cruiser was actually a weapon-designed hunt and kill other ships. For 20 years, it had fooled everyone in the galaxy. Enemy fleet detected, reported Tactical Officer Kong Jahun. 47 ships coming toward us. They have bigger guns and more armor than we do. They outnumber us 3-1, Admiral, warned Commander Ryu Mincio, looking worried. Admiral Lee smiled, but it was not the friendly smile that aliens knew from human diplomats. This smile was cold and sharp. Then it is almost a fair fight. Begin the lesson. What happened next was not really a battle. The humans did not just fight the Void Syndicate ships. They took them apart like scientists studying insects. Every time the enemy tried a new attack, the humans learned from it and used it against them. When Syndicate ships fired their plasma cannons, human ships absorbed energy and fired it back twice as strong. When the enemy tried to ram them, the humans moved like dancers, turned the enemy's own speed into a weapon that destroyed them. Admiral, reported Intelligence Specialist Jang Yuna, we are listening to enemy communications. Their commanders are getting scared. They are calling us the Learning Plague and demons who get stronger when hurt. Admiral Lee studied the tactical display, showing the battle. Dead enemy ships floated in space while human vessels moved between them like sharks. Because that is exactly what we are. They expected to fight diplomats and peaceful scientists. Instead, they woke up the children of the species that made war into an art form. On other battlefields across the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out. The Void Syndicate's biological weapons, designed to kill humans by attacking their genes, did nothing. Humans had spent decades preparing medicines to stop these attacks before they happened. The enemy's star-killing technology, their greatest weapon of terror, was matched and improved by a species that had been studying suns since before they left their home planet. Human scientists took the Syndicate's own tools and made them better in ways that frightened even other humans. At the Battle of Kepler's Edge, Admiral Park Soo-young showed the galaxy something that made even human observers feel sick. She had been a peaceful mediator for 15 years, helping alien species solve their problems with words. Now she used the Syndicate's own star weapons to create a chain reaction that ate 3 entire solar systems. The enemy fleets trapped inside those systems had nowhere to run. They could only send desperate messages as their suns exploded around them. "This is impossible," screamed one Syndicate commander over the radio. "These are not the humans we studied. These creatures learn too fast. They adapt to everything we do. They are not just winning, they are enjoying the destruction." Captain Bei Su Min, commanding a human destroyer, intercepted that message. She had spent her whole career before the war teaching alien children about human culture. Now she was hunting enemy ships through asteroid fields. Sent a reply. She told her communications officer, "Tell them they are right. We are enjoying this. For 93 years, we held back what we really are. They made us remember, and we want to thank them." The Void Syndicate forces began retreating toward their home territories, but retreat was impossible. Humanity chased them with the patience of their hunting ancestors. Every enemy ship that escaped one battle was tracked and destroyed in the next. But the humans were not just winning battles. They were destroying the Syndicate's entire way of life. Human intelligence teams studied captured enemy soldiers and learned how their society worked. Then they used that knowledge to turn Syndicate colonies against each other. On the planet Darkness 7, human psychological warfare specialists broadcast messages that made different Syndicate clans start fighting each other instead of fighting humans. On the mining world Void's Heart, human engineers turned enemies' own machines against them, making their factories produce weapons that exploded when fired. General Faxmore, the leader who had started this war with such confidence, watched his empire crumble from his command ship. Every day brought new reports of defeat and terror. "How many ships have we lost today?" he asked his aide. 47, sir. But that is not the worst part. The humans are not just killing our warriors. They are taking apart our entire civilization. They know everything about us now. Our weaknesses, our fears, our secret bases. It is like they can see inside our minds. Faxmore stared at the reports. What kind of species pretends to be peaceful for a century while secretly preparing to destroy their enemies? His aide was quiet for a long moment. "A species that is very good at war, sir. So good that they can choose not to fight, until someone takes away that choice." The galaxy watched in shocked silence as the humans demonstrated why Earth's history was written in the ashes of every empire that had ever underestimated them. The species that had spent a century mediating disputes was now teaching the universe a lesson about the difference between choosing peace and being unable to fight. The final battle happened in the Terminus system, the home of the Void Syndicate. General Faxmore, the creature who had started this war by threatening the galaxy, now found his fortress world surrounded by human ships that seemed to appear from empty space. His hands shook as he sent one last message to the human fleet. "Humans, we have taken millions of innocent people prisoner on 12 different worlds. Leave our territory now or watch them all die." Admiral Kim Dae-hoon's answer came back within minutes, and his words would be remembered forever. "You already killed 17 worlds full of our friends. The only difference is when we destroy your worlds, everyone will remember exactly why we did it." The Battle of Terminus lasted 6 hours. When it ended, the Void Syndicate's mighty war fleet had become floating scrap metal and space dust. Their fortress world, which had never been conquered in 1,000 years, was now under human control. But Admiral Kim was not interested in just winning battles. He wanted to make sure this could never happen again. Across former Syndicate space, human administrators took control of every government building, every military base, every communication center. Governor Lee Hanna, who had once been a peaceful diplomatic captain, now managed the integration of conquered worlds into what humans called Terran protectorates. The message was clear to everyone in the galaxy. Never again would species like the Void Syndicate be allowed to grow strong enough to commit genocide. 6 months later, the reformed Galactic Assembly met on Earth for the first time in Confederation history. Representatives from the surviving alien species gathered in Geneva's great halls, many still showing scars from the Syndicate's attacks. The Zephyrians came with their crystal bodies dimmed by grief for their burned homeworld. The few surviving Kalari moved stiffly, their hive minds still damaged by the neural viruses. The Centauri delegation was tiny. Most of their philosophers and teachers were dead. Administrator Choi Hyojin, who had once run a peaceful research station, now controlled human intelligence operations across a quarter of the galaxy. She stood before the assembly to explain the new reality. "For 93 years, you knew humanity as diplomats, mediators, and peacekeepers," she began. "The Void Syndicate got to meet the other side of our nature, the side that built empires, crossed impossible oceans in wooden boats, and turned warfare into a science." The alien delegates listened in complete silence. They had all seen the reports from the war. They knew what humans were capable of now. We tried to leave our violent past behind because we thought the galaxy deserved better. We were happy to solve your disputes with words instead of weapons. We helped you find peaceful solutions because we chose to be better than our history. The Void Syndicate took that choice away from us. She pointed to the star maps behind her, which now showed human protectorates spanning huge sections of space. Green zones marked areas under direct human military control. Yellow zones showed regions under human protection. Only small blue areas remained as independent territories. You need to understand something important, Hyojin continued. We did not become peaceful because we forgot how to be dangerous. We became peaceful because we remembered exactly how dangerous we could be. We chose gentleness because we were strong enough to make that choice. A Centauri delegate raised a thin arm. What happens to species that do not wish to join your protectorates? Hyojin's expression did not change. You remain free to govern yourselves, as long as you never threaten genocide again. But understand, we are watching. We have intelligence networks in every system, weapons platforms in every sector, and the will to use them. The Zephyrian speaker's crystal body flickered nervously. And if we refuse your protection? Then you are on your own, Hyojin replied. But remember what happened to the last species that chose violence over cooperation. The Void Syndicate wanted to remind the galaxy why it once trembled in fear. Instead, they reminded humanity why we once ruled our world through strength alone. She walked closer to the assembled delegates. They got their answer. They wanted to see what humans look like when we get vicious. The answer is simple. We become the species that other civilizations call when something needs to stop existing. A young human officer entered the hall and whispered something to Hyojin. She nodded and turned back to the assembly. I have just received a report from our deep space monitors. 3 systems in the Outer Rim have detected ships using technology similar to the Void Syndicate's weapons. They appear to be survivors trying to rebuild their military capability. The alien delegates looked at each other with fear in their eyes. Do not worry, Hyojin said calmly. Human patrol fleets are already moving to investigate. If these survivors choose to continue their predecessors' path, they will join them in extinction. If they choose to surrender and accept integration into civilized society, they will be allowed to live. She smiled, but it was the same cold smile that Admiral Lee had worn during the war. The age of human diplomacy is over. The age of human protection has begun. Welcome to the new galaxy. Outside the great windows of the assembly hall, human warships move through Earth's orbital space, no longer pretending to be peaceful research vessels. The galaxy had learned its lesson.